G'day guys, this is Rob Woodman with ECF Environmental and the LIDbit. It is absolutely pouring in southern Maine today, and so I'm going to head out, hit the streets, and see how some of our green infrastructure systems are doing when they're getting hit with these intense burst type rainfall events, as opposed to this typical sort of slow distribution of rain over 12 to 24 hours. These BMPs are getting a couple of inches in an hour this morning. So let's hit the streets and see how they're doing. Buckle up, because I'm sure we're going to see some pretty interesting things out there. We generally design stormwater systems to treat 90% of the annual runoff, but we often don't get a chance to see how they perform when we get these intense rainfall events as opposed to the typical 24-hour distribution of rainfall. Here we see in Westbrook an open joint permeable paver system that's easily drinking up the runoff that sheet flows to it from the adjacent paved drive aisles. The open joint system really designed specifically to handle these intense burst events. And again, you can see that intense rain hitting the pavement and then essentially no ponding, just a rough sheen on the open joint pavers themselves, taking that runoff, filtering it down, and ultimately discharging it. Moving on from there, we're going to start to head into Portland now, the city of Portland, Maine, where we have a number of our high-flow biofilter systems installed. Starting off at Paris Street in Portland, where a small biofilter was added to this urban infill housing development. You'll see right there, again, raining extremely hard still at this time. Runoff basically wraps around the back of this building, goes over this terraced sheet pile wall, and enters the biofilter system. Probably the greatest lesson here for designers is just to see how intense that erosive velocity can be in these small space efficient urban retrofits, really hammering the system. Now over to Brown Street in Portland with some raised biofilter planters. You can see the winter sands from the upper deck are yet to be maintained yet for the year, but I'm just absolutely amazed by the amount of erosive velocity that's coming through these downspouts entering these systems. You can see the couple of systems featured here are in bypass mode, which is no surprise. The intensity or the number of inches per hour that are entering the system far exceeds what they're typically designed to handle. But the good thing is the ponding stays within those raised planters. But look at that energy, it's like a fire hydrant. All right, moving on to a couple more systems now in Portland. You can see the rain still coming down awfully hard. Here's another biofilter on Oxford Street in Maine, and similar to the last one I showed, this is in bypass mode. There is about 6 inches of ponding on this system, and since the original hardwood shredded mulch was placed, some additional mulch has been planted in this area, I'm assuming as part of landscape maintenance. But interestingly, that is a softwood mulch is actually floating right on the surface and wrapping around the domed overflow. So mulch choice is important, and we continually recommend hardwood shredded mulches so it's less susceptible to floating. And finally, we're over on Cove Street in Portland, Maine. Another biofilter here that is being hammered by an intense rain event, so it is in bypass mode only, but good to see the ponding hasn't extended beyond the designed kind of bowl area around it. You can see the plants right in that biofilter. This takes runoff from an adjacent pavement area in a couple of different directions. You can see that here, just water flying into the system and the system processing and also overflowing. Unexpectedly though, a roof drain from the adjacent building flies in, and we notice this adjacent lot actually sheet flows to this biofilter too, so it's having to work extremely hard to keep up with the flow from those other areas also. Well, I'm officially soaked from head to toe. I think that's enough playing in the rain for one day. But I encourage landscape architects and civil engineers designing these urban retrofits to get out there and see how these systems are performing during these intense rainfall events, which far exceed what they're typically designed for. Well, that's it for today's episode of the LIDbit. This is Rob Woodman, signing out.